of a shot of winning. We can beat anybody in the world, and I think we're going to win next Sunday.
And welcome back to the New York Jets Atlantic Flight podcast. I'm Gus, and with me, as usual, my co-host Daniel over in Florida. We have got a few things to talk about. The next general manager of the New York Jets, the next head coach of the New York Jets, and everything else that follows with all that. But we have some other news that has broken within the last 24 hours. Those guys with the camera, those guys that deflate people's balls. Yep, those guys up in Mass, the massholes of Massachusetts, the Patriots. Daniel, fill us in what's been going on, brother.
Okay, so here's the situation. Now, as everybody knows, the New England Patriots last year hired Gerard Mayo to be their head coach. And after 1 year as head coach of the New England Patriots, apparently Gerard Mayo, as everybody saw in the news, got fired because apparently he lost the locker room. And they put out a statement, or at least Robert Kraft, the owner, put out a statement saying that, he wanted to keep him, but, after seeing what he was doing with he lost the players, he lost the room, he lost his staff, he decided to fire Gerard Mayo and start a head coaching search for the new head coaching position for the Patriots. Now, as everyone already knows, Mike Vrabel, who was fired 2 years ago due to the ineptitude of ownership at the Tennessee Titans because he wasn't getting along with the general manager and felt sucker punched because, there were players he thought he was going to have and lost in the draft a couple of years ago. So obviously he became a consultant for the Cleveland Browns, and once his contract was up, and it was already up before the season ended, or the regular season ended, I should say. So he became a free agent, and he could be hired as a head coach no matter what, and he could interview with any team he wanted. Obviously, he's already interviewed with the Jets, and Vrabel, I think, might have an interview with the Raiders. I don't know if that's happened yet or not.
I believe they've requested it.
Obviously, probably. Because Tom Brady is a part owner of the Las Vegas Raiders. So, and he used to play with Tom Brady. So, there's a destination there. He had a great interview with the Jets. So when obviously the Patriots found out about Vrabel already interviewing with the Jets and other teams, obviously some are saying, well, this will lead to the Patriots firing Gerard Mayo and after one season, and then now on social media, and this was done, this interview was done in Boston, and of course, as some of you may or may not know, obviously you have Sky Sports, you have the BBC, and you have TNT, Turner Network Television has an England station, London station up there to do Premier League games, obviously. In the United States, it's called regional sports networks. So basically, these are the networks that does sports for the teams in their cities and their counties and states. So NBC Sports not only is they have their regular channel, which is their national network for everything, television, comedy shows, serious shows, news shows, sports games, sport matches, and all that stuff. They are into the regional sports networks now. So there is a network in Boston. So it's NBC Sports Boston, and they handle everything Boston news. Just like in New York City, we have at least multiple networks. We have Madison Square Garden Network, and that usually does basketball and hockey. With like the New York Rangers, the New York Knicks, the New York Islanders, the New Jersey Devils, the Yankees Network, which is of course the New York Yankees baseball network. They also do the Brooklyn Nets. And of course we have Sportsnet New York, which is the network for the New York Mets. And of course they do pregame and postgame shows for the New York Jets, CBS and Fox. and NBC, whoever does the national games like Sunday Night Football, that's NBC. Monday Night Football, like on ESPN, you have ESPN over there as well. But CBS and Fox does the regional games for New York and the regular people, the regular cities and all that stuff. So just want to clarify that real quick before I get to the news. If I'm going the long way around, I apologize.
You have gone the longest way around possible, but I'm bearing with you.
Well, listen, if you want to understand how things work in the States, folks, that's what it is.
It takes a while.
So it does. So NBC Sports Boston came out with news that the New England Patriots already interviewed two minority candidates who are obviously not white, in Byron Leftwich and Pep Hamilton. Now, the people are having issues with this because that these two men do not have a current position in the National Football League. They don't have a job. They are not working as coordinators or assistants, and so the Patriots have circumvented the rule and said, we've already filled our quota of interviewing minority candidates. But these are two men who have no job
They're off the street
in the NFL.
Yeah, we know what that means. We know what this looks like, and the Patriots knows what this looks like, and the Patriots, as usual, don't care. Robert Kraft at his finest.
So I'm back. Sorry about that, folks. Anyway, as I'm saying, once again, the Patriots took care of the Rooney Rule. Well, obviously, you have to interview two minority candidates for the head coaching job before you actually hire the guy you want. And two candidates who have no jobs, who will probably not be considered for a job in the NFL, back in the NFL. Byron Leftwich was, of course, offensive coordinator for the Buccaneers, but of course he got fired. Pep Hamilton, I don't know where he came from, but obviously he doesn't have a job in the NFL either. So, it was very sneaky. And of course, everyone knows Albert Breer, national writer for the NFL, and from the Boston Globe, Tom Curran, both basically lambasting the Patriots for circumventing the rule. And so, look, everyone already knew that because Vrabel used to play for the Patriots. Thankfully, he was never a member of the coaching staff of Bill Belichick. He went and got his own job on his own when he went and became head coach of the Titans after being an assistant coach somewhere else. Look, say what you want. Maybe you're saying this is a coincidence. Look, they fulfilled the thing, but unfortunately, it feels like they're circumventing the
Rooney Rule
just to get the Rooney Rule just to get Mike Vrabel to be their head coach.
Yeah,
and that's not fair.
I addressed this on Twitter last week. I vented my spleen, for want of a better word, saying that the Rooney Rule, although it is a good idea, and the intent for what its purpose is a good idea, but the problem is it can be exploited, and I don't think the Patriots are the first people to do this, and they're certainly not going to be the last. So something needs to be tweaked within this rule to make it official. For example, like you've just touched on there, you've got candidates that are basically stiffs off the street. They haven't got a job in the NFL. They're not even reporters or analysts or anything. They're stacking shelves at Walmart. So that something needs to be done there, because that's what it is what it is. It looks, if it walks like a duck, talks like a duck, hey, guess what? And that's what the Patriots have done. So something's not right here. People are already saying that maybe, I'm not quite sure I go down this conspiracy theory, but people are already saying that maybe Vrabel has used the Jets as leverage to get the Patriots to come and get him. And the timeline is quite there, isn't it? So Mayo is in place. Vrabel interviews with the Jets, and then however many days later it was, Mayo is now fired. So you can read the tea leaves. It's up to you. But the Rooney Rule is a good idea. It's been exploited, and the Patriots continue to patriot. So it is what
Exactly.
it is.
And let me just say this. I want to say this. I don't think Vrabel used the Jets as
No,
leverage.
I don't.
No, I believe the Patriots saw this, and because, look, Vrabel was ready to interview with any team they want. They saw that the Jets are going after him. So you know what? Let's go ahead and fire Gerard Mayo, and let's go after the guy we truly want. And so, look, he played for us. He's in our Hall of Fame. He did a great job with Tennessee. He even beat us in the playoffs. So why not go after the guy? And so,
and the thing is as well, I mean, not only is he a decent coach, possibly a very good coach, but he would also be in direct competition twice a year in the same division. So the Patriots,
exactly.
If I'm Robert Kraft, I'm going, well, what are we doing here? Why is this? Why aren't we going? So maybe Robert Kraft's been putting pressure on the front office and saying, well, get this guy, do what you have. I can just imagine it. I'm off for a massage.
Exactly.
He better be a Patriot by the time I get back.
Exactly. Exactly. Now, I let me just say this, and I'm not saying that this is true or not. I don't know what's going on. Someone posted on social media, and they apparently claim they have a source. I'm not saying I trust this person. I'm not saying I believe this person, but if he makes, look, I'll say what this Twitter poster said. And apparently, if he does have someone on the inside, well, then he's the luckiest guy in the world. If he has a source or a friend that works for the Patriots and he gives him the information, look, I don't know the guy, like I said, but apparently he said Kraft is offering Vrabel a 4-year deal for $10 million. Vrabel wants 15 for 4 years. So Kraft doesn't want to give him the extra 5. Now, if that's the deal breaker, we'll see what happens. But like I said, I don't know if this is a real thing. I usually don't listen to yahoos who say they have a source. I usually try to listen to the reporters who cover the National Football League who actually have real sources. But if the guy is correct, and if this is, if it does or doesn't happen, then so be it. I know many Jet fans already on this side of the Atlantic is saying we've already lost Vrabel. The Patriots have now fired Gerard Mayo. We've lost Vrabel. He's not coming here. Yeah. We don't know who it is going to, but anyway, that's what it is. But anyway, Gus, it looks like our friend Ryan has joined us. I see him in the room, actually. So if Ryan can give us his thoughts, I'd like to hear them.
Can I just say, before we get into what Ryan's got to say, this is Ryan's first time on our pod. He's just joined our crew, our New York Jets Atlantic Flight podcast crew. So our ranks are swelling. As many of you know, we do have other people that contribute as and when they can. There's no hard and fast rules within our podcast. Generally, it's me and Daniel, and we have guests, presenters on here as well. But Ryan is a fully fledged member of this crew now. So I'd like to welcome from everybody at New York Jets Atlantic Flight Podcast. Welcome to the crew, Ryan, and lovely to have you on board, a fellow UK Jets fan. How are you doing, Ryan?
Thank you for that intro, Gus. I'm all right. I've been suffering the lurgy this week, but recovering just in time to be coherent on this today. So, yeah, doing pretty good.
Well, you're lucky Gus gives you the okay. If you had to come over here, Ryan, I had to give you the 3rd degree. No, I'm just kidding.
So, Ryan, I know you've been sat there patiently listening. Ryan had a few problems linking in, so that's why he hasn't come on right from the beginning. So he's here now. He's been sat there patiently listening to what we've been discussing about the Patriots shade. So, Ryan, have you got any take on what's been going on in Foxborough?
I think it's pretty standard operating procedure over there, isn't it? Let's be honest. If they can circumvent any kind of rule and have an edge, then they seem to do it. I think I'm pretty fair in saying that. I shouldn't get any kind of legal action from Robert Kraft himself. I do think that it does pay a little bit of lip service to the rule, and like you said, they're not the first to do it, they won't be the last, but I feel like it's been quite obvious in the way in which they've done it, picking up two names that aren't involved in the league right now, probably wouldn't have been on anybody's radar to be considered for the job role, and the fact that they ousted Jared Mayo so fast, especially considering that he was the heir to the throne from Bill Belichick from the get-go, and he was their guy. It felt as though the minute that Vrabel was available and they had a chance at getting near him, it was out the door, and let's satisfy the rule and let's just get our guy. But as you were mentioning there about the numbers on the contracts being rumoured that he wants more than what that Kraft is willing to pay, I think that Kraft isn't short of a penny. If he wants him bad enough, he'll pay it. If he thinks there's a chance that he'll end up in at MetLife instead, then I think he'd pay as many millions as he needed to have an edge over us.
Okay, we'll
absolutely right.
We'll finish this off. I just want to finish this off. I think we've done enough with this Patriots. Honestly, they make me sick. but I just want to get your guys' thoughts on this. 2 questions. Do the Jets hire Vrabel or do the Patriots hire Vrabel, or does he go somewhere else? 3 questions. Let me. I'll start with you, Ryan.
I think that he doesn't end up with either.
So he goes somewhere else.
Yeah, I think the dark horse in all of this, well, the 2 dark horses I mentioned a couple of days ago in our group chat, was the Bears and quite possibly the Raiders. And I think when I mentioned it that Pierce was still employed by the Raiders, and then lo and behold, he gets sacked, and the rumours start swirling with who Brady might want in the room there, and that Brady's influence will attract many more people to the job, which I don't get as a minority owner how that's really going to affect it, but we'll see.
Okay, interesting take there, Daniel.
I think that if I'll say this. At first, I thought, Vrabel was going to go straight to the Patriots, even though I'm still kind of holding out hope he'll come to the Jets. But we'll see what happens. But I wouldn't be shocked if he does, if Kraft relents and says, I want him. This is our guy. We need to bring him back home, and he'll do it. I wouldn't be shocked if Vrabel says, okay, I'll go to Las Vegas and I'll coach the Raiders because I like Tom Brady because I played with him. We'll see what happens there. I mean, I'm still holding out hope he does go to the Jets, but we'll get to the other head coaching department, for candidates, and I'll give you my thoughts on that as well. But like I said, if he goes to the Patriots, it's a coup. If he goes to the Raiders, I'll understand it, and nuts to us, but. I'm still holding out a little bit of hope that he does come to the Jets, and the Jets actually contact Vrabel and say, hey, so we understand that Kraft doesn't want to give you the extra $5 million. How about this? We'll give you extra $10 million, and we'll give you 4 years, and maybe I don't know if you can do options for head coaches, but if you're able to do an option and maybe make it a 5-year deal, then so be it.
I think in my mind, I have kind of moved on from Vrabel already. We discussed this a couple of weeks back, didn't we? We said that Vrabel and Glenn are 1A and 1B. I think I'm pretty much slid over to 1B, Aaron Glenn now. And in my head, I'm almost putting up an imaginary coaching staff underneath Glenn as well. So I think I've kind of moved on. If we don't get Vrabel, I'm not going to be overly upset by it because I still think that Aaron Glenn is going to bring something pretty incredible to this franchise, exactly what we need. Not that he's a defensive coordinator, but he is a good motivator and leader of men, and that is, as we've discussed before, that's what we need right now. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens. I think we'll know where we are in the next 2 weeks. Certainly either a head coach or a GM is going to be involved. But we've done the Patriots to death now. So good grief. Are you ready for this?
Yes. Let's go.
This is the New York Jets 2025 head coach interview tracker. And bear with me because there's some names on here. Joe Brady.
Take a deep breath, Gus.
Yeah. Joe Brady, offensive coordinator, Buffalo Bills. Brian Flores, defensive coordinator, Minnesota Vikings. Aaron Glenn, defensive coordinator, Detroit Lions. Brian Greasy, quarterbacks coach, San Francisco 49ers. Vance Joseph, defensive coordinator, Denver Broncos. Josh McCown, quarterbacks coach, Minnesota Vikings. Matt Nagy, offensive coordinator, Kansas City Chiefs. Ron Riviera, Riverboat Ron, NFL analyst, former head coach, Carolina Panthers and Washington Commanders. Rex Ryan, you know that guy. Bobby Slowick, offensive coordinator. No introduction needed. Bobby Slowick, offensive coordinator, Houston Texans. Arthur Smith, oh my God, offensive coordinator, Pittsburgh Steelers. Steve Spagnuolo, oh my God, defensive coordinator, Kansas City Chiefs. Jeff Ulbrich, why? Mike Vrabel, former head coach, Tennessee Titans. And Darren Ritchie, interim head coach, special teams coordinator, New Orleans Saints. And nearly there, Mike Locksley, why? Head coach for Maryland. I have no idea why that man is in there. And the only other person that was widely regarded as being a top candidate, but they've not sought an interview with him, is Ben Johnson. Ben Johnson has stipulated that a criteria of teams that he doesn't want to inquire, and we seem to fit his criteria of being not very good. So,
and that's fine. And that's fine. And you know what? Let me say this. And that is fine, because I'll tell you this right now. If Ben Johnson doesn't want to be interviewed by the Jets, then the Jets did the right thing. They didn't even bother giving him an interview anyway. Yeah. And, I know people were upset and people are unhappy. Why can't you give him an interview? You're not doing your job. You're not doing this. Oh, here we go again. Excuse me. If he doesn't want to be a part of the head coaching search for the Jets, if he feels he doesn't want to be here with the Jets in the New York City area, then fine. Don't even bother. Yeah. Don't waste the time. You're wasting precious time if you give him an interview request anyway. If he doesn't want to be here and he tells the Jets, I don't want the job, then fine. Don't give him the interview. Don't do it. So everyone needs to understand. You cannot allow a guy to be interviewed if he doesn't want to be here.
It's insane. So out of those head coaching requests, these are the coaches or potential coaches that have actually interviewed Ron Rivera, Mike Vrabel, Rex Ryan, Matt Nagy, Aaron Glenn, Mike Locksley, and Steve Spagnuolo. Out of those names, Riviera, Vrabel, Ryan, Nagy, Glenn, Locksley, Spagnuolo, it doesn't light you up, does it? There's one name there. There's two names there that really light a fire. Steve Spagnuolo, absolutely not. Mike Locksley, absolutely not. Mike Nagy, meh. Rex Ryan, absolutely not. Ron Riviera, would like to see him on the coaching team, but not as a head coach. So, am I getting this right or am I getting this wrong? Who wants to take this?
No, you're right. Nope. You're right. You're absolutely right there, Gus. Because look, as much as I enjoyed Rex Ryan as our head coach long time ago, the NFL has evolved. His style of coaching will not mesh with the NFL of today. I don't care what anyone says. If you're a Jet fan and you remember those days, and listen, those were great days. The first 2 years, consecutive AFC championship game moments, should have beaten the Colts and unfortunately didn't. Came back against the Steelers, but screwed up towards the back end of it because they screwed up the way they were trying to get that second touchdown. And even though they did get the second touchdown, that should have been the third touchdown because they screwed it up originally, the second touchdown attempt at the goal line. And then everything else fell apart in the third season of Rex Ryan, and they just could not get anything back squared up, and they just couldn't get back to where they were supposed to be, and this whole streak started. So, look, I love Rex. I know he's a big Jet fan. His father, Buddy, was an assistant coach on the Jets when they won the Super Bowl back in 1973 at the Orange Bowl at Super Bowl III. If he wants to work for the Jets as a someone in the front office, as some sort of consultant, that's fine. I don't care. That'd be fine. I want him nowhere on the sidelines at all, even as a defensive coordinator. I don't want him on the sideline of the Jets. He wants to be in the front office. That's fine. Sideline, no. He's been with ESPN on Get Up as an NFL analyst, and even on Sunday NFL Countdown. I'm sorry, Rex. I love you, but you know what? I don't want you on the sidelines as a head coach of the Jets. And Jet fans need to understand we cannot go back to him now. It's a much different game. It's a much different situation. He would not fit as a head coach, and it would be a lot worse than what we had this past season.
Yeah. Ryan.
I think as much as those names don't inspire a lot of excitement, like you said, they don't light the fire. But realistically, do we want a list of 16 guys and we want every single one of them, and then it's a position where we're potentially picking the wrong guy? If there's 16 names on that list and there's only 2 we like, then as long as it's one of those 2, we're in pretty good shape, right? So I'm with you. I kind of made that myself comfortable with Aaron Glenn being my number 1 guy. And similarly to you, Gus, I started picking out what the coaching team below him might look like. And I think that realistically, yes, there's those ones that I've interviewed, there's only 2 that would light the fire. But I don't necessarily want more than that. I think we're exhausting it by interviewing 16 anyway. I think 6 would have been plenty. The 6 names you've given there that we have interviewed, I think that would be perfectly fine. And then you trim it down to a final 2, and then you do more interviews, and then you'd make a decision. It doesn't need to be this most ridiculous of exhaustive processes where we are literally going to Maryland, as I believe they pronounce it in America, to find the head coach that has I want to say a losing record. It's certainly borderline 500. Like he's not a successful coach there. He hasn't proven himself there. And from the rumblings I'm hearing from the fans down there, he also has a bit of a toxic culture. So why on earth we've even bothered to have a conversation with him, I'll never know.
Yeah.
I don't know either, Ryan. I don't know. But let me just say this. Guys. I apologize, Gus. But
go on.
You know, look, the Jets, and this is the 33rd team. This is the team with Mike Tannenbaum, Chris Spielman. These are guys that were once general managers of the NFL. So, and what he said probably to them, I want a wide search. Tell me, just tell me who you feel is the right, not the right person, but tell me who you feel is a solid candidate to interview. And then we'll go on from there. And so far, I think what they've done is the right thing. At least it's not like what the Patriots did, just, okay, we fulfilled the rule and we're done. They've already interviewed at least 3 minority candidates for a head coach. Obviously, Aaron Glenn, Ron Rivera, and the head coach from Maryland, from the University of Maryland. So, I mean, look, at least it wasn't a sham. At least they actually interviewed potential hires and those that were once head coaches. Because some Jet fans are saying, I don't want a coordinator. I don't want a hot coordinator anymore. I want someone who has experience. And so, look, Ron Rivera has experience. Is it great experience? No. But he has experience. So bring him over. But if he's truly not the guy to be your head coach, but at least you interview him, and at least you can probably say to your head coach and your GM after you hire them, would you like to use Ron Rivera as a defensive coordinator? And he would probably say, you know what, I wouldn't mind having him as a defensive coordinator. Here's something else I want to pass along. A friend of mine made this opinion, and I think it would work. Let's just say for the heck of it, you do hire Aaron Glenn as the head coach of the New York Jets. And let me say, I also think Aaron Glenn would be spectacular as our head coach as well for what he has done. And we'll get to him in a little bit later. Let's just say we change things up a little bit. Let's just say for the hell of it, you do hire someone who was a head coach, but you don't bring him in as a head coach. You bring him in as a consultant for the head coach. And obviously, one of those head coaches who was successful for the Jets back in the day, not all the way into the Super Bowl, unfortunately, but he was successful, was Herman Edwards. So let's just say for the heck of it, you hire Aaron Glenn as your head coach. But let's just say for the heck of it, you also hire Herman Edwards to be his consultant on the field. You let him be, assistant coach of some sort, but he can assist Aaron Glenn in what to do in certain situations. Not saying you don't trust him, just to say you help him. And if it does work, then you know what? Then after 1 year or 2 years, you say, Herm, thank you for your time. We appreciate it. Aaron's got this.
hmm Do you know what? I actually like that idea. I like that. I think Herm is a great football mind. Where was it? He went to Kansas City after the Jets, didn't he? I think
Yes, he did. Yep.
But he's still got a good football mind. I saw and heard him on a YouTube clip late last year. He was giving a talk on player development and everything, and I just thought, gee, this guy, he's still got his finger on the pulse. He has moved with the times on the game, and I just thought to myself, you know, if there was an opportunity where he could come back to the Jets in some capacity, I would love to have Herm back. And it's funny you should bring that. You guys listening to this, we haven't discussed this off air. This is just pure luck that this has happened. But yeah, I really like that idea, and it's funny that you should bring that up. So yeah, I do like that. I think a consultant, especially, again, it's kind of in-house. It's like Aaron Glenn has constantly been in touch with Bill Parcells. So it's not like he was a Bill Parcells player and then just got the odd bit of advice from him. Apparently he is in constant...
Technically he was. No, technically he was. When I mean, he was already drafted by the Jets. And when Bill Parcells took over after I think it was after the Mangini, no, was it after Mangini? No.
Kotite.
Kotite, thank you. I apologize. It was Rich Kotite. Thank you. I forgot.
God, I wish I could.
After the two, I know, me too. after the 2 horrible years of Rich Kotite, who tried to be the head coach of the Jets after he was, head coach at Philadelphia, and even before then he was an assistant coach under Joe Walton. It just didn't work. He quit, and when Bill Parcells came over, Aaron Glenn was a part of the Jets, and Aaron Glenn, when he retired, said to Bill Parcells, I want to be in the coaching business. And he goes, okay, fine. Well, here's what you got to do first. You got to be a scout. You got to start all the way at the bottom and then work your way up. And he would always stay connected with Bill Parcells after his coaching career, working in the Jets front office as a scout, doing all this, doing all that, learning how to learning how to scout players, learning how to, get towards the coaching level. And then he went on to be an assistant coach at the Saints. Then he came to the Lions. Look what he's done being a defensive coordinator. Look at everything. And I know people were upset with Aaron Glenn saying, well, he did a crap job these last several weeks before the final week of the regular season because, they feel, well, he's not really such a good defensive coordinator. Yeah, because his defensive team, the defensive side of the ball, he had injured players. And he had like second string, third string players he had to work with to get them, ratchet them up just so that they can be able to play the games. And look, they went 15-1? The 16-1, the Lions? I mean, look at this, or 15-2 or something like that. I mean, my God, that was unbelievable. And look at the last game against the Vikings for the NFC Northern Division title game. And they destroyed the Vikings, both on offense, defense, and special teams. So you can't tell me that Aaron Glenn is not going to be the right man to do the job here. And if you ever watch any of these videos of Aaron Glenn, whether it be the Hard Knocks shows on HBO, whether it be him on Ryan Clark's online show, I mean, this Aaron Glenn knows how to motivate and discipline players at the same time. This is a guy that will be commanding, demanding respect, because who did he learn it from before he became his own man to be a coach in the National Football League? He learned it from the master in Bill Parcells.
And also, I need to add this as well. He's also learned from a current very, very, I'm not saying great, but I'm saying very good head coach in the NFL, a current coach in the NFL, Sean Payton, 2014 to 15. He joined the staff there, and now he's is a DC for Dan Campbell, who's also proved that he's a good head coach. So everywhere Aaron Glenn's gone, he's had success, and his hunger for the game. He's always tried. Do you know there's a player on the Jets right now who's got exactly the same mindset as Aaron Glenn did as a player and as a person, Jermaine Johnson. He does not stop. stop trying. So he went to last chance you, and from then on, he sharpened his pencil and he got his ass in gear, and he's never stopped trying. Even injured, that didn't faze him. This year, he's gone out with a horrible injury. He's missed the whole season. And there's a lot of players that the head would go down, and that would be it. Not Jermaine Johnson. He's been completely focused and saying, I'm going to come back stronger. And that is who Aaron Glenn is. If you don't know who Aaron Glenn is, that is who Aaron Glenn is as a player and a person. But even better, if you can believe it. So if Aaron Glenn becomes the next head coach of the New York Jets, I will be absolutely thrilled. And I'm getting to the stage now where, I don't know, maybe I'm talking myself into it, where I'm starting to get to the point where I'm thinking, you know what? I think Glenn could actually be a better head coach than Vrabel. I think he's got all the same Vrabel traits, as you've just said there, Daniel. He's a leader. We just don't know if he can do it as a head coach yet, but he's doing it in spades as a defensive coordinator with not a lot to work with in Detroit. And they've had massive injury problems throughout the season, yet he shut out a Minnesota team for 9 points last week in a pretty gutsy game. So,
Yeah.
why wouldn't you? Why wouldn't you want him?
Exactly. What's Ryan's thoughts on Aaron Glenn?
I'm a big fan. I think that all the points you guys have addressed are valid. Like, he's come through an incredible coaching tree as a player and as a coach himself. I think it's one of the guys I'd mentioned about that I would like as our DC, whether he would be interested in the job or not, is actually somebody that he has been connected with in the past as well, and that's Mike Patine. And I just feel like there's a coaching tree in his history that could piece together this coaching staff that we've dreamed of. Like, if we end up, we've all talked in the group chat about having Josh McCown as an OC and different things like that, but I just feel like we're almost romanticizing it now, aren't we? And in classic Jets fashion, we're going to end up without Aaron Glenn, and we're going to end up with Mike Loxley, aren't we? So,
Don't.
But yeah,
Well, hopefully not.
I think we're all feeling really good about it, and maybe that's the problem. Maybe we're all too excited about it, but it does feel like the right fit. He's an ex-player, played with his heart on his sleeve. He's worked under some fantastic coaches in the NFL, and why not? He's been working with this Detroit Lions team and this defense that has been decimated by injuries this year. Like,
it has.
That defense has not blinched. Next man up has been the go-to, like, phrase in that team, because nobody has lost. Don't get me wrong, there are teams that have lost more players, but I don't think in terms of impact on the defense, I don't think they've lost as big a names as what Detroit have. And they've just gone out and done their business, and they've schemed, and they've worked, and they've won. And they've made some very, very good teams in this league look very ordinary.
None more so than the Vikings.
Exactly,
the Vikings,
and they were hot.
Have put yards. They've put yards on people, running and air yards, and they shut them down. And I think there's no mean feat in that, and especially given the issues they've had on staying healthy, really. So yeah, Aaron Glenn, I'm all for it. He is. There's no 1A, 1B for me. He is one.
Do you think, though,
I agree with you there.
Do you think, I'll put this one to Ryan first, it almost seems now I know we're only a week into this head coach search, and obviously there are teams that are in the playoffs where I think they can talk to them on a Zoom call, but they can't talk to them in person. But there's obviously teams that have got coordinators and things that they can't talk to at the moment. But I kind of feel now that this head coach search, the head coach is almost picking itself. I think the fan base is, like we've just alluded to, Vrabel seems to be slipping out of our hand, and I think it's almost like we're on a collision course to get Aaron Glenn. Do you think that, Ryan? I nearly called you Aaron Glenn.
I've been called much worse. I'd like to think that is the case. I mean, I'd certainly like that to happen, and I think that part of maybe one of the positives, at least, to interviewing or trying to interview 16 guys so quickly, is we have been aggressive in our search. We've been aware and self-aware that there are going to be other teams competing for these top coordinators. And realistically, if we want to get one, we've got to go out there and set our stall out and tell this head coach that we are lining up for that role, we want you. And I think they've done that. They were very early in sounding out that they wanted to interview Aaron Glenn. They were very early sounding out that they wanted to interview Vrabel. A few of the other names I feel like have kind of filtered through as a test of the comparison as much as anything. But yeah, I do. I feel like there is a clear path to us landing Aaron Glenn as our next head coach, and I would be over the moon with that.
Again, sorry, I cut you off, Daniel. Again, I'm just going to rename some of the hot names that we've requested. So we've still got Joe Brady, we've still got Brian Flores, we've still got Brian Greasy, Vance Joseph, Josh McCown. I think Matt Nagy hasn't interviewed. Bobby Slowick, I don't think he's interviewed yet. Darren Ritchie, I don't think he's interviewed yet. But the hot names, I think I think out of that bunch, this is for a head coaching job. I think you're probably looking at Brian Flores, who personally I don't want any part of because of what happened in Miami. You've got Joe Brady, Brian Greasy, interesting. Josh McCown as a head coach. I quite like the idea of Josh McCown as a head coach, but not this year. If Josh McCown, because it would be a promotion because he's a quarterbacks coach currently at Minnesota. If we did, for example, offer him an offensive coordinator role and he took it on, I think he comes to us next year as offensive coordinator. And I think the following year he probably gets poached and becomes a head coach. By all accounts, I don't think you can read anything bad on Josh McCown from anybody. And he seems to be in the ascendancy and he's climbing the ranks very, very quickly. Daniel, who other than the two that we've mentioned before, I mean, the original question was, do you think that the head coaching job is now starting to pick itself? Other than that, do you think any of these other candidates appeal to you?
Yes, I would say Joe Brady because obviously look what he's done with the Bills as an offensive coordinator. I mean, I think that would be a steal if he becomes a head coach for the Jets if they do decide to get him. I mean, look, what Joe Brady has done for Josh Allen has been nothing short of miraculous because it's not that Josh Allen was not a good quarterback. He is a good quarterback, but what was his problem? His problem was interceptions. His problem was forcing himself to make a throw when he shouldn't have. He should have just kept it. And I think also at times, Josh Allen, whenever he feels he has to run with the ball and get those yards, he'll do it. And it's tough to bring him down. I think Joe Brady has made Josh Allen a complete quarterback.
Mm-hmm.
I think he's improved him tremendously. And if he becomes a head coach for the Jets, he can improve whoever we get. I mean, even Aaron Rodgers, I don't know if he'll stay or not. We'll see what happens. But let's just say for the hell of it that Aaron Rodgers does stay as the Jets starting quarterback. I mean, it would be really, really foolish of him not to listen to Joe Brady and have him tell Aaron, we have to change things up. I'm going to keep you, but you're going to have to follow what I say, and I'm going to make you a better quarterback than whatever you were. And if Aaron Rodgers says, fine, let's go, let's get it done, then you know what? It's a win-win. Brian Flores, while, yeah, everyone knows what's going on, what he did in Miami, and of course, but look, they were successful seasons in Miami, but he didn't want to tank a season, and that's why he got fired because ownership wanted to tank, and he didn't want to do that, and they let him go. Do I think he's learned from it? Yes. The only issue I have with Brian Flores is the lawsuit he still has with the NFL for, the whole minority coaching situation. And, until he drops that, he'll never be a head coach again or be considered as a head coach again. So, we'll see what happens there. But, I wouldn't mind Flores, but I don't know how much of a probability that would be for him to be a Jet head coach. We'll also have to wait and see, what he does on the lawsuit end that he has filed already in court. So Josh McCown, the year he was with the Jets before they drafted Sam Darnold, and now he's the quarterback's coach with Sam. So I'm not surprised. Sam's doing excellent work because, it's not just offensive coordinator, but it's also the quarterback's coach under Josh. So he knows Josh very well, and he's learning a lot better than when he was backup quarterback to Sam Darnold, even though I felt McCown should have been the starting quarterback the year Darnold was drafted. Still, though, I agree with you, Gus. I don't think he's ready to be a head coach yet. I think he has to climb the ladder. And if he does become offensive coordinator for the Jets, bring him on.
Mm-hmm.
Bring him aboard. It's the same thing. It's the same argument when you talk about, some of these former head coaches that were once coordinators or assistant coaches under Bill Belichick. Once they break away from the brain machine of Bill Belichick and become a head coach, they stink.
Yeah.
They really, really stink. So basically it's this. I don't want to hire Josh McDaniels as a head coach. I would rather hire him as an offensive coordinator. Bring him over as a coordinator. I have no problem with that. Do I think he
Not
yeah,
McDaniels.
Exactly. No, no. But what I'm saying is I would rather have McDaniels hired as an offensive coordinator than as a head coach. I don't think McCown is ready to become a head coach, but if you want to make him an offensive coordinator, why not go for him on that one?
Yeah, I just want to go back a little bit as well about Brian Flores, because we haven't mentioned this person's name, John Gruden. There are fans of the Jets that say John Gruden would be a good head coach. Yada 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 yada. Don't doubt that. Again, he's another kind of Rex. John Gruden is in the same bracket for me as Brian Flores and Rex Ryan. Either been out of the game or they've got character flaws. Not so much Rex character flaws, although he's got that thing with the feet. But Brian Flores and John Gruden, they've both got lawsuits going on. I think John Gruden's still got lawsuits going on, but they've all got this flaw in a character. They've made, as grown men, they're still making really, really bad decisions in life. And I don't want that distraction, especially in the New York media market. I don't want that. We keep getting the clown show emojis related to this fan base and this team. This is like, enough already, let's please move on. Let's be a serious franchise. Woody is working probably for Trump again this year, so there's a good chance.
No,
Is he definitely not?
No, I don't want that. Please, Woody, don't go back to the Trump administration.
The chances
Just
are
stay
he
as the
is.
owner of the Jets.
The chances are he is. So if he does, we know what happened last time. A certain brother was in control of the joystick on this flight, and sitting right behind him in the jump seat is now his son Brick. Let's not dwell.
No,
on this
that's
too much.
that's not happening. That's not happening. Stop it. Stop it.
So
The kid is not making the shots here. Come on now.
Well, he might be getting groomed too. He's maybe not making shots, but he's certainly definitely getting groomed. He's in on meetings and all the rest of it. So
just because he's learning to be a bartender doesn't mean he knows how to pour the freaking drink.
Correct. But anyway, the point I'm trying to make is we need to get this right this time. But we said that last time when we hired Douglas, nearly forgot his name already, and Salah, and we all thought. I don't think there was too many Jets fans that thought, no, this isn't going to work, unless your name's Joe and Clark. But nothing will ever make Joe and Clark happy. That we know that.
Mm-hmm.
So we're not going to know whether we're going to get this right or not until the back end of next season. We can only hope that we get this right. And God, the 33rd team. Let's finish this segment off with the 33rd team. I'm not sure what's going on with the 33rd team. I don't know why we've got so many people interviewing, but we have. and I don't understand why the Jets aren't focused on getting a particular kind of coach or GM involved. But there just seem to be so many different candidates from all different walks of life. It just seems a little bit odd to me that we should be going down this route. But it is what it is. But we also have a GM search, of which right now we have interviewed, in chronological order, our friend from Russia, Thomas Dimitrov.
Oh, not again!
Just
Come
have to do
on!
I like to drink with you, Daniel. We have a lot of vodka. And
Ryan, he's going off on a tangent now. Watch out!
yeah,
Watch out, Ryan.
And then we had John Robinson, and then we had Jim Nagy. Right, I'm going to stop on Jim Nagy for a second. Jim Nagy is really, really interesting to me. He is the brother of Matt Nagy, and he is the current executive director for the Senior Bowl, which is what excites me about him. He's been doing that, I think, since 2018. This is what he's been an NFL scout. Get this, 18 years. 18 years. He's worked for various teams in the NFL, including the Commanders, the Patriots, and the Chiefs. He's won Super Bowls. He's been in 6 Super Bowls, and he's won 4 championships: Green Bay Packers, Patriots, Seahawks. This guy is like super, super experienced. And to say, the bit that I really like is he's got such a finger on the pulse of what's happening in the college game. And as you know, one of the biggest, strongest jobs that a GM can have is getting talent into your team. Now, what better person is there to do that than the executive director of the Senior Bowl? I really like that. So out of these GM spots now, I'm liking either Jim Nagy or Borganzi from the Kansas City Chiefs. Mike Borganzi is assistant general manager. Do you guys have any preferences on GMs at the moment?
Ryan, you go first.
So from the offset, I quite liked Dimitrov. I think what he did with the Falcons was strong. It's a strong record there. He brought in Matt Ryan. They went to the Super Bowl. They into the championship games regularly. But I'm with Gus. The whole thing that Jim Nagy has done with the Senior Bowl is incredible. The growth of that event each year has just grown year upon year, and the players that are being showcased in those Senior Bowls, and they're actually making incredible careers for themselves. Now, there's no doubt that these players were obviously capable beforehand, but the platform wasn't necessarily as big as it is now. And I think that I am with Gus. I think that he's a very interesting candidate, and I think he's a very exciting candidate, and his experience, despite his relatively young age, is vast. It's incredible. And I agree. He has his finger on the pulse. He's seeing it at a very close level, being up close and personal with the Senior Bowl. My only concern would be the lack of experience, even as an executive assistant or anything like that, or an assistant GM or anything like that. But I would be happy to overlook it. If Jim Nagy's the guy, then Jim Nagy's the guy. I'm quite happy with that. I could sign off on that, no problem.
Yeah.
I will agree with Ryan about the one concern, but it sounds like Nagy is a good, a solid candidate. I would say this. Obviously, Borganzi, who's been a long-time assistant general manager with the Chiefs, and look what they've done so far currently, under Andy Reid as well, and their general manager, of course. But, if that's also a superstar in waiting to become a full-time, being the lead guy as a general manager, including the assistant over in Philadelphia, obviously those two guys would be a solid pick. Davidoff would be.
Daniel just got out there. I think you meant Dimitrov. I think Daniel's just fallen off there.
But I would still.
Sorry, Daniel, you just cut out then. We lost you for about 2 or 3 seconds. Yeah.
Okay, I'm back. You hear me okay?
Yeah, absolutely fine.
Okay. So as I was saying, like I said, Nagy could be that diamond in the rough. But if he doesn't get it, still, I wouldn't mind him being either an assistant GM or the Jets hire him to the scouting department. And, I know they got their head of scouts, who's done a good job finding these players for the Jets, especially Garrett Wilson and Sauce Gardner, Jermaine Johnson, Brees Hall,
Hmm. I bang about on this
Ruckert
all the
and all those
time, don't
guys.
I? This
Yeah.
scout team that Joe Douglas put together, and I think it's Phil. God, he's an assistant GM now.
Mm-hmm.
But they put this
Phil
scout team.
Savage.
Phil Savage. They put this scout team together. Interestingly, there was a. Sorry to interrupt you, Daniel. Just interject here. There was a tweet that went out yesterday. Phil Savage put a tweet out, and Connie Carberg, first
Yes.
female scout, she commented on it, and I also commented on it, saying, "I really hope that Phil Savage hangs around for this next regime." Connie Carberg replied, "100% agree with this." So when you've got people
Connie's
like Connie
great.
Carberg rooting for you on your side, I think the Jets will take note of this. So I'm really hoping that Phil Savage does stick around with this scout team. But yeah, I agree with what you said, Daniel. Sorry, carry on, brother. Interrupting you.
No, that's fine. Listen, look, I mean, like I said, Nagy could be that diamond in the rough. And I would say this, if you hire him for the coaching staff and then one day if, whoever is no longer assistant GM or whoever is no longer GM and, you want to give Nagy a shot somewhere down the road, then go for it. I mean, he'll probably get picked up sooner or later somewhere down the road, but you know what? It wouldn't hurt to add him to the scouting department.
Yeah. I mean, you look at what goes on in that Reese's Senior Bowl and the amount of scouts that go down there, and just I don't know. I'm sure that there is a stat here. The amount of players that play in the Senior Bowl that actually go on and do positive things in the NFL, I would imagine, is pretty high. And I don't know if any of you guys know or the listeners know, but to get to the Senior Bowl, it's by invitation only. So you've got to be pretty good to get in there, or you've got to show some potential to go in there. Hoping to get some reports. That's at the back end of this month, the Senior Bowl, and Dylan Terreman, Dom C. I'm not sure if Glenn Norton's going out there, but there's a few others that are going out there. So hopefully we'll get some hands-on interviews and notes on what's going on at the Senior Bowl to help us look at players that are coming up in the next draft that we may not have heard of or flying under our radar. But let's talk about some news that came out. I believe it was yesterday. In fact, it was yesterday.
Go ahead and shine, boys. Go ahead and shine.
Do, 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 do. Oh, my God. It was announced yesterday that the Jets will be playing in London again this year now. Unfortunately for the season ticket holders fans, it's going to be a home game. Originally, when I heard this news, my first thought was, I feel for the season ticket holders. They've just had their season tickets up for renewal and the prices of them have gone up. And then my immediate thought was, they've lost a game. The prices have gone up and they've lost a game. But apparently, they're only getting charged for 8 games and not 9 games. But still, you're still losing a game, regardless of whether you've paid for it or not. I keep banging this drum. Anyone that knows me knows this. I don't think any games should be played outside of the USA. The reason why I fell in love with American football is not only is it a great sport, but it was the whole razzmatazz of the way that it's played and portrayed in the USA. And it just is not the same in this country. I've been to 3 Jets games in this country now, and it's just the atmosphere is just not the same. It's a very, very wishy-washy replication of what it could be in the US. It's just not the same. You've got Jets fans, so for example, we've just played the Vikings. So you had Jets fans there, Vikings fans there, and then all the other teams' fans replicating as well. And out of those fans, I would say easily half of the fans there don't really understand the rules of the game. Now, I'm not saying that every fan that goes to a game in the US does as well, but it's just it's more of a spectacle. It feels more. It still does not feel like a regular season game, in my opinion.
It's a
It
day
feels,
out, isn't it?
yeah, it's a day out, and it feels more like an exhibition. And there were people. This is at the Tottenham Stadium. There were people that were just up and down all game, getting beer, getting food, all the rest of it. But which is fine. But and there were some people that were actively trying to watch the game, and you just can't in that environment. It's different to the States. There wouldn't have been that volume of people getting up and down in the game in the States where they'd be watching the game. So
Ryan, it's just like a Geordie. I'll tell you, it's just like a Geordie. No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding.
Yeah.
I'm kidding.
So I want to get Ryan's. Obviously, Ryan's here in the UK with me, and I've never discussed this with Ryan. And speak your mind. What do you think of the London Games?
For me, it was my way in. I was very fortunate that very soon after becoming a fan of the Jets, I'd watched for a couple of years before picking the Jets, and then lo and behold, very soon after that, we hosted the Falcons, which was not a good spectacle at all. It wasn't a good advert of the game by any means, but I was fortunate enough that my first live NFL game was in fact my team. So in that sense, I'm very grateful, and I'm very grateful that I do get the opportunity to see my team. But I agree with you that the atmosphere isn't on a par with other sports I've been to. I go and watch ice hockey quite regularly here, involving teams in this country, and the atmosphere is very different. I've watched ice hockey in America, and again, it's very different when you've got this sort of a sort of paper mache mold of people pushed into one space that aren't actually have any alliances to a team. It's never going to be the same. The passion isn't there, and like you say, I mean, the fact that you can walk up the street, head into the stadium, and you see people wearing half and half shirts with Jets and Vikings, and you just kind of, I mean, it's the most disgusting thing in sport nowadays is the half and half scarves and shirts. And yeah, I'm with you. I haven't had the pleasure yet of getting across to America to watch a game, but I know full well that the experience is going to be very different. And yeah, it's good in terms of increasing the reach, I think, and it is the future. Sadly, we're not going to be able to slow that down because they have this world domination agenda, and they want to be able to say that they are world champions because they do play across the world. But yeah, the London Games, they're not the best example of the sport, I would say.
Daniel,
or at least the experience.
Daniel,
well,
from a US perspective.
From an American perspective, gentlemen, look, for us, obviously, as we all say, as I always say, money makes the world go round. So obviously we all know what the NFL is trying to do. They're trying to get the European pound or the European euro to go into their bank accounts and everything. And but they do want to make the sport popular. And
the British pound here, old boy.
That's right. That's right. Absolutely. All I can say is, honestly, is that, look, the NFL has been trying to be accommodating to what goes on with football across the world. So, they're trying to corner that market. But the problem is this. There's no World Cup of American football. There's no CONCACAF Gold Cup of American football. There's no Euro American football tournament. So it's basically just, there's no national team situation. So if the NFL wants to go, and truly expand itself across the globe, then, you're going to have to do something about it. I mean, everyone loves watching the game. Not everyone. You have to understand the rules and everything, just like you need to understand the rules of football. The laws of the game of football. You got to understand the rules of American football to really appreciate the sport. Now, I understand there's like I think there is an American football league in Germany. The NFL did have once, a world league long time ago that was shared between here in the U.S. and Canada and also in Europe, like the London Monarchs,
Yep.
the Frankfurt Galaxy, the Barcelona Dragons and stuff, and then became NFL Europe.
Yep.
And that took hold pretty well until they decided to end it, which I think, I wouldn't mind them bringing it back, even though I understand spring season football, not really a lot of people pay attention to it here in the States. It's their own detriment, in my opinion. I think that's a failure. I think they should we should have something like this, because even though the college game, I'm probably going on a tangent again, I apologize, but still though, I think having these games, it's more for the fans of those teams that go to London, that does go to Munich in Germany. At least, they watch their team play, but at the same time, they get cultured in learning the history of the countries, of the cities as well, because everyone wants to visit London, just like everyone wants to visit New York. Everyone wants to visit Los Angeles. Everyone wants to visit Orlando and go to Disney World. Nudge, nudge, wink, wink, Gus.
No,
So, I mean,
not this guy.
That's what it is. Hey, listen, I know more about you than you know more about me. No, I'm just kidding. Anyway.
Holy
But
cow.
anyway, look, I'm hoping that, which I didn't think, I thought, after the loss to the Vikings, this past season, I thought, they're not going to come back to London for another maybe 5 more years. But apparently, it sounds like the Jets wanted another shot, or the NFL said, you know what, we're going to give you another shot. So,
well,
I'm hoping to make the trip this time, and, we'll see what happens. I don't know if I will or not. Of course, it depends on the money situation, but until then, look,
that would be absolutely great.
I appreciate, what you're saying, Gus, and but once again, we all know the NFL, it's more of a touristy thing, and they want to break through the European market.
Yeah.
That's what they want to do, even though they already have it, but they still want more of it.
It is. Money, as you say, money makes the world go round. I say this across all sports. The problem with sports is money, and sport can't evolve and live without money. It's a double-edged sword, but it also wrecks sports as well. There's so many sports that I could just rattle off, but that's another story for another day, where money has just completely wrecked the sport. But as I say, can't live with it, can't live without it. Guys, we're going to need to wrap this up. It's been great, and it's absolutely amazing. Ryan has now joined our team. Absolutely thrilled to have you on board, Ryan. This is your first podcast. Hopefully you've enjoyed it, and we'll be back next week. Guys, you got any final last words?
Yes, I do, Ryan. Watch out for Gus and the cricket paddle, and watch your backside. No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding. No, that's not my final word. First of all, Ryan, welcome to the group. I appreciate you coming on, and hopefully we'll get more from you. But all I can say is this. Obviously, this hiring process for a GM and a head coach is very exhausting. But you know what? I think the Jets truly need this. No knee-jerk reactions. They're doing it the right way. I know there's some candidate out there, some names that I agree with some of you, why they even being bothered. But you know what? I think they really need to do and have a thorough job of getting it right. And I don't have a problem with it.
Ryan.
Thank you. Thank you for having me, guys. I look forward to being on again in the future. And final words, Aaron Glenn 2025.
Nice. I like it. Guys, it's been an absolute pleasure hosting these podcasts. And we've got breaking news. We've now completed an interview with Lance Newmark. Okay, right, that's another name. Anyway, we'll do that next week.
Add it to the list.
Yeah, add another one to the list. Guys, thanks.
Y'all know what to say. On 3. 1, 2, 3.